In democratic societies, everyone ought to have equal rights to participation, especially in the political process. What this means is that one's gender should not present as an obstacle to achieving one's aspirations. It is for this reason that the 4th International Women Conference, held in Beijing, China in 1995, to fundamentally address the parity between men and women representation, especially in elective and appointive positions. Nigeria is signatory to that international instrument, which provided that 30% affirmative action be mainstreamed in member countries' political process. Now, the national gender policy also raised the bar to 35%. Nigerian women command a greater percentage of voting strength, yet all efforts to improve statistics for Nigerian women participation in politics remain abysmally low compared with global trends. And global average is estimated at 22.5%. Africa's regional average is put at 23.4%. And in West African sub-region, the average of women's participation is estimated at 15%. Generally, Nigerian women account for only between 6.5 and 7% in representative capacity, which is far, far below provisions of Beijing and the national gender policy put together. It hasn't always been like this. I know, and I recall before independence, for instance, a number of women played very prominent role as members of their various constituencies. And I can remember women like Wuraola Eson, Margaret Ekpo, Janet Mokelo, Ekpo Young, and Hajia, of course, very prominent Hajia Gambo Shawaba. You know, there were more women participation in politics even after independence and way down into the dawn of this democratic dispensation in 1999. Now, let's talk numbers. From 3 women in the Senate in 1999, it moved to 8 in 2007 and 8 in 2015. Now, the House of Representatives recorded 12 women in 1999, 21 in 2003, 26 in 2011, and 19 in 2015, and continued to nosedive since then. The 2019 is said to be the worst. Now, the 2023 general elections have produced the most disheartening number of female candidates, and that's according to Women in Politics Forum. 92 women are vying for the senatorial seat out of 1,101 candidates. 288 women are contesting House of Representatives position out of 3,122 candidates. And worse still, 15 states will not be fielding female candidates at the state houses of assembly. This has been the development of Nigerian women representation in elective positions. So on late edition this week, we will speak with some of the female candidates representing their various parties to gauge prevailing causes for the poor participation and probably understand whether or not they understand the legislative process. I am Claire Adilabu Abdulrazak. Thank you for joining me. Ireti Hiba Kingebe is a civil engineer and she's also a philanthropist and politician. She attended Queen's College, the famous Queen's College, Lagos, before moving to the United States to join Washington Irving High School in New York. She speaks multiple languages, including English, Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba. That's interesting. Now, she has a BSc in Civil Engineering from the University of Minnesota and worked in the private sector, also in Minnesota, for Bradley Precast Concrete Incorporated, and also for the Minnesota Department of Transportation. So she's also in the transportation sector. She later came back to Nigeria and worked at the headquarters of the Nigerian Air Force Base in Ikeja, Lagos, where she supervised construction of a water project at the Nigerian Air Force Barracks. That's also in Ikeja, among other several projects that she handled. She also had a stint with New Nigeria Construction Company in Kaduna and several other engineering firms across Nigeria and beyond. Rita Kingibe is a recipient of numerous honors, awards, and recognitions. And in 2014, she was named chair of the Leadership Newspapers group, a position she, of course, later resigned to follow her political aspirations. She has held numerous political positions and has been actively involved in politics since 1990. She ran for the position of senator multiple times in the FCT. Currently, she is the senatorial candidate of the Labour Party for the FCT. Now, my next guest will be Juliet Ihayere. She's a graduate of the University of Benin and also Enugu State University of Science and Technology. She's a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. She served as the financial secretary of the Unity Bar, that's NBA Abuja branch, between 2020 and 2022. And I must say she's a very, very courageous, very brave barrister. She's the principal partner of Markham's J. Attorneys, and currently she's pursuing a master's degree in international maritime law. Juliet is also a politician, and that's where the bravery and courage comes in. In February, of course, 2022, she contested a seat as councillor to represent the people of Kubwa at the Buhari Area Council. She's now vying for a seat in the Federal House of Representatives to represent the people of Buhari Amak constituency. And of course, she has quite a number of interests there. All right, so our third guest today is Honorable Gloria Okolugo, and she attended Federal Government College, Warri, one of the foundational unity schools in Nigeria, I must say. She holds a BA Theatre Arts and an MSc in International Relations and Strategic Study, all from the University of Jos. Comrade Gloria worked in the presidency, a special advisor, National Assembly Matters, House of Reps. She's also a public health consultant and was a grantee of the United States Public Affairs Section in HIV and AIDS advocacy to halt, of course, the raging HIV pandemic then. Well, she made a presentation at Dixon Senate Chambers in Washington, D.C. to push for better funding to fight diseases. We will get to hear whether she was successful or not. But Gloria Okolugo is a member of Global Health Council, Peace Alliance, and CSO partner of the UNODC, that's United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. She was very, very involved as coordinator and board member, research and training for real empowerment, and team lead election observer for the 2011 general elections. She was appointed Honorable Commissioner, Multilateral Relations, Abuja Office 2012, member, highest decision-making body of the Delta State Government, that's the Executive Council. She later served as the first female Commissioner for Energy in Nigeria, and she narrated the battle she had to go through. Gloria Okolugo is currently the NNPP candidate for Abuja South Federal constituency. So let me welcome my distinguished ladies to late edition this week. Hajia Ireti Kingibe, it's a pleasure to have you with us, madam.
Thank you for inviting me.
I've heard about you so much. So today I have the pleasure of having you one-on-one. Barrister Juliet, I'm encouraged by your presence.
Thank you.
And comrade, comrade is a friend. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's begin properly with getting to know what has been responsible for the dismal performance. I mean, we've talked about it. It's like music, you know, no one wants to listen to it anymore. Haja, I will need to start with you to probably again remind us what has been the problem, what has been the issue.
The political parties, that's been the issue. The parties tend to favor men. They pay lip service to the fact that tickets for women are free, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, lots of times they have predetermined who the ticket is going to go to. So it's not a level playing field for women. And unless you get the ticket, then you're not on the ballot. So there's no chance of getting elected. But for the most part, when women actually do get, and it's not a function of that we can't win the primaries. We do win the primaries when the primaries are conducted fairly. So the reform has to start within the parties. And secondly, if you look at the party executives, you have maybe out of 24 people, 1 or 2 women. Women leader and assistant woman leader, mostly, that's it. The rest of the people are all men. So we have to start from scratch. And that's one of the things I'm hoping we can get right.
But it hasn't always been like this. Even before independence, we had a lot of women. I just mentioned some of those women. You know, we have better opportunities now than they did.
As the country deteriorated, equity and fairness also went with it. In the past, things were fairer. Primaries were actually conducted.
Real primaries.
Real primaries, and that's the truth. And when real primaries are conducted, women perform well.
Okay, comrade and Barrister, when I had an interview with Honorable Nkoyo on this matter, her explanation was that yes, even those women had a name. You know, they had a name, and they came from backgrounds that also, you know, supported them in whichever way there was a gap. But for you, no, let me just keep you on hold because you're the youngest of all the politicians. Yes, Comrade Gloria, what was the cost of, you know, the success to be the candidate of your party for the House of Reps?
Oh, wow, I think it was a great cost. And then when you talk about costs, it's not just financial. It is emotional. Yeah. It is a whole lot of struggle to be able to emerge. And I would speak to what you said, Nkoyo said, because it's significant. The entry point of a woman into politics is significant. You know, when merit was thrown out of the door as a people, you had nothing to stand on except there's something to leverage on. Okay. And so you had people who could leverage on their family names or a structure, some structure or the other, able to emerge. And that's why I'm very sad about so many structures along the line. I'd even indict development partners a lot because they come in, there's a lot of lip service to the fact that we want greater female participation. But when the chips are down, there's nothing for anybody to leverage on. Nigerian women are fighters. They would always swim up, you know, up against the tide, and you find that everything keeps pushing you back down into those waters. So you got to fight extra hard. And the cost is often much, you know, by way of, it's not, you might have the finances, but you might just get to a point where you say, why am I doing all this? Because if most people who have the ability to succeed have other options. And so it's difficult to persist because you say to yourself, why do I have to put myself through all this? It's easy to fold the carpet, drop it, and then go off. It's easier to run away. A lot of people are jackpying. And we're sitting here waiting for elections. Is it because we don't know how to travel out of the country? We do. But we have greater vision. We have an aspiration. And it's not all about that plate of food you want to put on your table. You know, so the cost is enormous. Sometimes it could cost you your reputation because the politics, they could go for the jugular. Sometimes it costs some women their children. You know, they can attack you in so many ways when you are a politician. So the spiritual angle is there. So the costs are so much. So like when you're building a skyscraper, according to the Bible, you count the costs. So if you have counted the costs on time, then you checkmate the costs. And then you begin to make sure that on that work, you are prepared, you are ready.
Barrister Judith, were you ready? Because earlier on we were talking about, you know, I described you as very brave and courageous. Now, if you do get the ticket, you'll be representing my constituency. So, how did you get the ticket?
I would say it was actually the decision of the party to actually give women an equal quota for them to come run primaries.
So there was the practice of affirmative action in your party?
The truth is that they wanted women to come in and run, but they didn't find any. So they had to come look for me.
Oh.
I ran, when I came into the party in 2021, I ran I heard then they were doing the local government elections in the FCT, and being born in Kubwa, I have not seen a woman run for a councillorship position in Kubwa. So it excited me. I was just 26. And so when someone also came, because of how much I had performed in the MBA, people were already seeing my administrative antecedents. Yes. And so someone said, oh, my party ADC is actually giving a room to actually young people, women, and this was a period where young people wanted a say. This was just following the 2020 incidents of the youth. And so I said, okay, let me step in. Now we are looking for youth, let me step in. And I ran the councillorship. I remember coming to the party, a lot of older ones were like, what's this young person doing here? And immediately I was able to manage an election, put in all the agents, pay all the bills with when it comes to paying of agents, manage a system. That was the first time we used the beavers in FCT. So for me, it was something just putting the T's, crossing the T's, and then dotting the I's. For me, just managing the whole thing. And the party saw how well we could do it, even the rallies, planning it, and then they were like, this girl is brave, even without the party support.
You weren't totally green. You were not totally green. You had some experience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, ladies, I'm sure I don't have representatives from the so-called big parties here. And it has always been an issue, Ajia Iriti Kengibe, that why we're actually having a decline in women's, representation in the elected positions is because the women are not, they are representing parties that are third parties, political parties that are in the third party grades, if you understand what I mean, and all that. So, and all of you are you're in Labour Party, you are in ADC, and you are in NNPP. So what has the role or the party you belong to got to do with, the ability of women to win elections?
Well, when the party is totally, as you say, if the party doesn't have the proper structures, even when the woman has the ticket, it's difficult for her to win because she does need to have the structures spread across her constituency. Now, Labour Party doesn't quite fall into that category because it does have the structures, not as highly developed as PDP and APC, but because I'm a more experienced politician, it did not matter. As long as there were structures, it was good enough to run with. But in some parties, because many times when I don't get the tickets in APC or PDP or whatever party, other young smaller parties offer me their tickets. And usually I decline, because they don't have the structures. They don't have anybody in any ward or local government. So what am I going to work with? Nothing. So, but with Labour, and even with NMPP, they did have some structures good enough to start with.
So basically, would you have loved to run under any of the two parties?
No, because actually, APC sort of had implied that I should go and buy the ticket, I should do this, but the truth of the matter was no. I'm a very idealistic person, And I had been in that party, and I was very dissatisfied with the way the party was being. Or I said no to everybody, and the others accepted my no. But Labour Party did not. They insisted and insisted, and then I said, okay, here are my terms and conditions. They met it, and I said, okay. And then also pressure was put on me by my own personal structures. Like, well, madam, for all these years, we've been building up your structures, and it's not just about you. It is also about your followers, which that to some extent is true. So all said and done, I then accepted to run, and I ran unopposed and got the ticket.
Unopposed. So how is your party treating you now?
Oh yes, because the truth of the matter is I later brought value to my party, and this is also seen in the fact that we've actually crossed party lines in the course of my election this period, because I had to consider my generation. I found out that my audience, the ones who actually accepted me, were the young ones who didn't see themselves much represented across political lines. But here's someone who is 28, who is going to shake Africa by being the youngest if elected. So why don't we go for her? And as a young woman, who a lot of people feel they have no mentor all the years to actually show them how to build party structure as young women, they're like, okay. So for me, it's actually those people who are actually holding and encouraging our hands. And then the party has seen this, and more valuable support is coming in. Although we still need more women to actually show more interest, even within the party, because the issue of money cannot be eroded when it comes to politics. It's all about the money syndrome, and it actually makes people not to actually put in effort because they feel, oh, you're too young, how would you get the money to support and all. So for now, I'm just riding more on the encouragement of the Nigerian people, also the party too, who are actually now coming to accept that, oh, she's still pushing, even when everybody has decided to have COVID and a whole lot of things that has pushed them aside, but we're running.
Comrade Gloria, with your antecedent, one would expect that the other big parties, so to speak, will be running after you.
I was commissioner for 4 years under PDP. So just at the beginning of the political season, I was actually invited. I won't call names, but I sat with most of the big names in the party, and I was to contest certain positions, but I told them I'll go back to pray about it because I'm big on faith. And when I prayed, I didn't get any signal. And then I was also, when I left government, I also officially left PDP, and I became part of the support structure for APC, although I didn't have any office except for being a member of the Congress, you know, the Congress committee. You know, why I did that was because all along when I was serving in the PDP government, I had an integrity issue, an integrity burden. You know, I'd faced my portfolio, but there was something about the system for me that wasn't right anyway, because like I said, I'm big on integrity, you know. So I had always felt that, okay, APC has come on board, it's progressive and all that. Unfortunately, the disappointment with APC was even worse. And so for a lot of people who are in APC, who were always making me feel very guilty, even though I did my office with utmost integrity and I've not had the first invitation by any EFCC or anything like that, they always used to make me feel like PDP is this and that. I saw them sitting comfortably in an APC government with the people getting impoverished, corruption growing by the day, and a lot of things. So the standards for which, you know, integrity was important to me, I'm not trying to indict anybody, was just not there. Society is regressing, like she said. Things are getting worse. So I said, you know what, I'm done, you know, I'm done, you know. Until the issue of Mama Abuja, you are Mama Abuja, you are moving from IDP camp to IDP camp, you're doing a lot, but there's the much you can do. You know what policy means, you know what partnership means. You know when you travel out there, they want government participation. You're a multilateral specialist. You know that the multilateral organizations want to engage with government. So why are you sitting back? Except you're lazy, you know. And so by the time they start challenging you, and it looks like you're also being selfish, you know, why don't you get yourself in the ring? There's this, you know, you want to be the voice of the people, be a proper voice to the people. And here we are, the rest is history. I found a good platform. As far as I'm concerned, my principles aligned with that of the principle of my party, He picked a party and he dusted it up, and his integrity comes with him. Whether you like it or not, the Kwankwasia following and the Kwankwasia group has been consistent for years, based on integrity, based on the new principles that we are seeing now. We're beginning to see people play politics, and, you know, they will still want money, you know, but it's not as bad. The system is now saying we're not going to give money, because we know that when we give money, they're not going to vote for you because of the money anyway. So if people are going to hijack the system, let's do everything to make sure that there's a level playing ground.
During my introductions, I know I mentioned the percentage of women, you know, who will be taking part in the 2023 election. Not quite encouraging when you compare with the men and all that. Does that give us concern about how we women prepare for elections or elective positions? Ajay.
I don't think it's the preparation exactly that's the issue. I have identified the problem, and believe me, I haven't been in PDP, I've been in APC. The truth is that as integrity and equity and all those things, as they got less in the polity, everything else also went with it. Fair play. We needed representatives that listened more to the masters than the interest of the people. One of the things that I feel and I'm hopeful about when I get elected, which inshallah I hope to be, I'm going to use that platform because then I become the leader of the party in the FCT, to encourage and empower and get more women. Local government elections are coming. I have watched and observed how these things are done. There are times in the past when I would have struggled to give 1 or 2, or even I think I got 3 women tickets. But it was a sort of horse trading, literally blackmailing the chairman into giving 3 women out of 62 tickets. But I know that as the leader of the party, I'm going to go out of my way to look for capable women. I'm going
to be coming back to look at again what the motivating spirit, why you all want to go into the National Assembly, because you must have a reason, you must have an agenda.
Yes.
You must have what you're going to do, because representation is not just going to the National Assembly and warming, you know, the seats, just as some of our women, some other people are doing at the present.
Men want the seats more
that's why I said other people. I'm sorry. You know, just like you know, some other people are doing at the moment. They go there, they sleep. We see them sleeping in the house during debates, during motions, and all that. Bill, you know, crafting, it's not an easy thing. It's something that you must learn how to do. And that is one of the reasons why some of the bills, you know, that affect women don't get passed, get rejected even before, you know, you bring them up and all that. Quickly, before we take our short break, Barrister Juliet, for you, the numbers, you know, you were on your own, your party came to you, you were not even prepared mentally or psychologically.
I was prepared. I was prepared mentally, and that's why we're still keeping on, irrespective of every challenges we've been faced with. And I will actually give credit to the ADC party, because ADC today, in the chart of women's participation in the 2023 elections, ADC has the highest tickets given to women. So we actually commend them for what they did. They specifically did that.
You said, you know, just a moment ago, that your party, you know, had thrown the doors open for women.
But they didn't just throw it to any woman.
Why?
The truth of the matter is, a lot of people are not aware. In fact, I wanted to add, in addition to party policies when it comes to having a fair a level playing ground for women to come in, and young people, and also people with disabilities, because they're also part of the equation. A lot of people are not aware. And that's why today we've been able to address these issues. We have lack of political education in Nigeria, and that's something that has affected even women. So it's not just from the party, and a lot of political parties are thriving on the naivety and ignorance of the people on the street. I'm just coming from a market today. A lot of people did not even know that the House of Reps and Senate seats are having their elections on the same with the presidency. So even in the FCT, where we have people who are enlightened, people who know the basic 1, 2, 3, are not even aware. Even learned people do not even know when the elections of the National Assembly is. And that's a problem.
Comrade Gloria.
Yes.
The numbers.
Yes, it's preparation part of our problem.
Preparation, yes, that's part of the problem. But then people also, most of the people who are competent have been beaten, battered. You know, you try one party, you get a disappointment here, and then quite a number of people have built up their capacity and have given up on politics. You know, that's one thing. Another thing is those who also have started off again, you know, with a lot of purpose, you know, and focusing. When they see some challenges, it's very difficult to hold on to the resilience, because the patriarchal structures in society could actually be a major issue. So it's part of what is affecting the numbers.
All right, ladies, let me thank you, put you on hold for a moment, and then this is late edition, and we're trying to, I'm speaking with female candidates to the National Assembly in the 2023 general elections. We'll be right back.
You can't fight piracy, you can't fight a war.
Therefore, you don't claim your rights.
The challenge I see is in the fiscal.
Do we have to wait until we have a problem?
See, the problem with those who speak on behalf of themselves and the country is that they should have facts. I'm speaking now as Minister for Transport.
For you to become economically independent, you must have to curtail the level of importation of other people's products and services.
How rich you are, you can't bring certain vehicle into the country.
There's no competitiveness within the state.
I am Claire Adelabu Abdulrazak. Thanks for joining me. All right, welcome back. You're watching Late Edition this week. Aja Ireti Kengibe, senatorial candidate for the Labour Party. She's just like,
Yes, I was like amused. It's like, she's already dashed me the Senate.
All right, Barrister Juliet Ikayere and Comrade Gloria Kolubu, all the candidates to the National Assembly. Thank you very much. So let's start now. What does preparation to contest a seat in the National Assembly mean for you?
Before I answer that, I want also to say that a lot of women, a lot of candidates believe that they should run only under the big parties. They believe that that's the only place to win. I know how much I shopped for candidates in the Labour Party before the Labour Party grew to be what it is now. And everybody's like, no, madam, I don't even know what you are doing in an unknown party like this. So they didn't want to come on board. So it takes a certain amount of courage for women to go and decide that I am good enough to run. I can sell myself and the party and then run under an unknown party. So that I wanted to add. But preparation, well, people like me have been preparing year after year by getting in touch with the people, getting known. It's been an evolution. From the time I started, it's been continuous. Each year I build on what I already have. So my structures in the FCT are broad and wide. So preparing for the National Assembly, I look and see what the issues are, what the problems are, and believe you me, they are quite monumental. Because there are times I was telling somebody today, I said, Oga, if we win, he said, no, madam, when we win. I said, well, whatever, the problems are a lot. It's a lot of work, because you see FCT and you think it's the capital. Yes, it is. But development is only in the center. Maitama.
Sokoro.
Yes, we said too. Airport Road. Cities, what's that? Central Business District. That's it, believe me, that's it. Everywhere else you go. Okay, in Buhari, some places are picking up, like Ushafa isn't like it used to be, but still, infrastructure is zero across the FCT. Most of FCT doesn't have water. Those 2 dams were built and created just to give FCT water. But you have to put the infrastructural facility for them to have water. You have to pipe from the dams to the communities, none of which has been done. And if you go and check what the budget is and how much money is spent on the Federal Capital Territory, you'll be dizzy. A lot of contracts are awarded for roads that are still not built. So the oversight function that the Senate, at least I know that as a senator, is not being done. If you appropriate money to a minister for certain things, you also oversight and make sure that it gets done. None of that is happening. So it is a lot of work, and believe me, I am very prepared.
I would come back to ask you what kind of senator what kind of a representative you would want to be, to people within your senatorial district. Barrister Juliet, what does preparation mean for you? Preparation for the National Assembly?
Okay, preparation for me is first and foremost, you have to have the intellectual know-how. As a lawyer, legislative making is something we even start practicing from the law school. You have to understand what the ayes, the shall, the may is, and how to actually critique certain bills, amend, review, and also put forward to the House what you need to do better to actually make the laws more better for the people to be able to understand and then function properly. And also the courage, and that's making yourself prepared. So in the heat of challenges, because challenges will come for the men, for the women, it's something that is inevitable. So preparing myself mentally, for me, that is the first things first. And also understanding the issues. I am being born in FCT, being born in Kubwa to be precise. It's a place where I've seen my friends, everyone grown.
You have lived for the past?
All my life, 28 years in FCT, Kubwa ward, and I was born in the midst of everyone. When I go out now, and it's just like, oh, you've grown, wow. So a lot of people are so excited. So for me, it's to bring back impact. Like those things they told us being the future of tomorrow, it's today. As long as you've gone to school, you've acquired knowledge, there are things you can be able to do, the technical know-how. And these things are professional know-how. So adding my input there will actually make my world a better place, and also encourage others to come wherever we live or where live. Others can also continue from there and even do better.
Comrade, if you must succeed, more so as a woman, you must have extra magic, to be apart from understanding the crafting of the legislative process. You must also understand the art of lobbying and all that. For you, what is getting set for this election? What does it mean to you?
Getting set for this election is, first of all, getting set for that legislative process. Because for me, we're listening to the State of the Nation address by Biden and President Biden, and he talked about signing about 300 bills. That can't happen if people are not presenting member-sponsored bills. And the legislative, the democratic structures in our country has not grown enough for people to know that they should be able to present member bills, because everything is about the largesse facilitated by the executive arm of government. And so everything is about going to the executive arm for permission. If it's not an executive bill, it doesn't fly. There's so many things that we should have developed by now. The lobbying process, which is not a Ghana must go carrying process, but the process of lobbying to see that these bills pass, because foundationally it is about the laws before you talk about implementation. And so if the right laws are not in place, then you cannot. If we had the right laws in place, even this banditry, as I speak, 8 people have been kidnapped in my constituency. As I speak, 2 days after I went to consult in a particular house, the daughter of the political leader was picked up at his gate. thankfully she's been found. Banditry can actually be approached from the legislative point of view. When you have the right laws in place, it becomes very, very difficult to penetrate the communities because they have the working laws to work outside of the known structures. People will begin to think outside the box, and it is backed up by law.
Do your people of your constituents, do they understand what you're talking about? Because
we're trying to make them understand, because everybody they don't understand. That's why they don't. Everybody's talking about the seat of the president. They don't understand how important it is that you must be concerned about the seat of the legislative, because what makes the democratic system different is the legislative arm, basically. Because in any other form of government, you have the judiciary and you also have the executive arm. It is, when you want to build the democratic structure, you must build the legislative arm. I talked about going to make presentation at Dixon Chambers. And that also brings me to the issue of the bills that were thrown out of the House. Yeah. Let's be honest. Legislative language, you have to be very careful. There are clauses that are passed into these bills, and they look very harmless. A lot of people don't know. You talk about pro-life and pro-choice, and they don't understand what it means. You talk about this, and they package just a little clause, and somebody should sit down because he represents a constituency that calls him and says, this is what this law means. He might not even understand, and when they interpret it to mean that, he goes and shoots it down, and we don't have a proper lobbying system to make sure that we get that done.
Haja, what is your agenda? What are your plans for the people of your senatorial zone? What are you going to do for them at the National Assembly?
Number one, there's a lot of what I call housekeeping policies that FCT needs passed. FCT is to be treated like a state, but for that to happen, you have a lot of policies that have to be passed for us to access certain health funds, certain educational funds, a lot of which all these policies have not been passed. So there are lots of things FCT does not have access to that we could have access to if we had the right legislators. That's number one. Number two, the senator of the FCT is actually quite different in the sense that though it's the highest elective office in the FCT, and though legislative, but has a lot of tacit executive powers, because the minister comes, yes, he's there for certain things, but he's not elected and not there by the people and therefore not accountable to them. But he also needs the senator to function. So you found that in the past, senators like Senator Haira Gwadabe, Issa Mena, did a lot for the people of the FCT just by saying to the minister, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, and you don't do this, I won't do this. And therefore, the people fared better. Then along comes a different caliber of senators that nothing about the people, once they are given personal, I'm trying to look for a nice word. Yes, and once their personal desires are taken care of, it doesn't matter what you do for the people. For instance, FCT doesn't have mass transportation. Why not? We're the capital.
Yeah.
There's so much, and these things is not okay. Abuja mass transport.
What do you hope to do in that area? Because it's very critical.
Okay, let me tell you what is in the pipeline. Abuja mass transport system is being concession. The minister has done his bit, but in a very lackadaisical manner. A more proactive senator will make sure that everything is in place and is going. It's not, okay, it'll happen whenever and if ever, you know what I mean? Because, okay, this minister has done some, taken it to a certain point. The FCDS board has done what it needs to do, but it's not happened. It will sit around, shake around till another minister comes. So if you still have similar senator who does not say, okay, you know, this is important, what needs to be done, why is this not started, then it continues. Water. So there's a master plan for water. What's holding it up? Do you understand?
What about agitations by the indigenes of the FCT?
Well, depending on
is that also part of your agenda?
To a certain extent. FCT, I'm sorry, is already the capital. You're not going to stop the influx of people. But there are certain concessions that I think you can give to indigenous people, and we might need to define what indigenous means, because everybody thinks of one tribe, but actually like 8 or 9 indigenous tribes. So you might say people who were born here, people who lived here.
Okay, let me pause this. I'm sorry, we are racing for time now. I will come back to you to tell us how much you know of, the FCT.
Yes.
Yes. Barrister Juliet, so for you, what are your plans for your constituents? What do you have?
First of all, it will actually be to review some of the laws, as the FCT laws that are already in place, actually to cater for the basic amenities, because according to the Constitution, there are certain things that are primary concern of the government. And FCT, it's also a state, in as much as it's seen as a capital today, but there are also actually people who are living here, and they actually have representatives. So it's also a state, it's just that it's seen as a capital. So the issue of infrastructure has to be redefined when it comes to providing of the necessary amenities for the people, and then revamping of the educational system to improve quality health care, and also the educational system, and also anti-roaming, because in FCT today we've seen that the security issues have risen so far. So when we're talking about roaming, a lot of people come influx of people, they are not checkmated to actually know what they're doing, why they are doing things around, and it has actually caused people to be scared. FCT used to be a safe place for each and every one of us when I was growing up, but today is so scary. And then the abandoned houses, how can this actually be revamped and actually put in actually best state for people to actually have good housing and accommodation, and reduction of even the tenancy rates and all that, requiring people to pay extra years. It's something that in FCT now is seen as normal to pay so many years in advance.
Comrade Gloria,
what would I do for my people?
Yes, what's your agenda? You must have your bags full of what you intend to do at the House of Representatives.
But I have 2 categories. I have the low-hanging fruits and I have the long-term issues. The low-hanging fruits, number 1 is security. My people are farmers, and there are places where they cannot even go and harvest
your people,
crops.
That's
Abuja South.
Abuja South.
Yes, they're predominantly farmers, and they can feed the city, they can feed the metropolis. So it could be a win-win situation. I see the issue of food, housing, education, good jobs, decent life from a human rights point of view. And I will approach it from a human rights point of view. And so I will first of all address the issue of food to the table from the farm to the metropolis. And so the entire chain of that will be something that we have sat down, we have looked at it, and how we will make it possible for the farmers to go to farm safely, to ferry their goods by proper transportation right to the metropolis, and then there's food, and then it will drive inflation down. Whilst we're doing that, we're also looking at how we can ensure that people sleep with their eyes, the 2 eyes closed at the same time.
So, Barrister Juliet, it's not going to be an easy task for you because we don't have the numbers. So what do you intend to do? How would you intend to, get these bills passed, get the support for the bills, get it past the first and second reading, before it even gets to the president to get his assent?
For me, it's an in and out tactics I desire to employ. In out, I mean sensitization and awareness. There's going to be actual public debates and talks about this issue, because what we've actually seen over the years is that we've actually seen media shy senators and reps not wanting to actually communicate to their people their issues, and this can actually, in the Constitution is there referendum when it comes to calling out your representative and recalling them back to their base, and then doing a re-election. So when you now engage these people, the debate, the continuous conversations can come up, and then we have people having these issues. Then in the House, get like minds, and that's why for me it's an actual appeal to Nigerians in this election. Be very particular about those you're bringing in, because it will actually determine the kind of laws and bills we're actually going to be lobbying our colleagues to actually push out there for the masses to actually use.
Aja Ireti Kingibe, it's the general belief is that you must have a lot of political experience to be able to lobby effectively. I remember my former boss, a lawyer, so he left for the National Assembly, was actually a senator, and I think he served just one term. He didn't go back, and he voluntarily left. When he came back to me, he said, Claire, if I went to the National Assembly with 10-point agenda, and at the end of my first, term or tenure, I was only able to pass 2. He said, is that a pass mark? I said, no, sir. He said, then I'm not going back.
One of the things that people miss is that the National Assembly is actually the state assembly for the FCT. So a lot of the things that we take to them that affects only FCT, they have no reason to say no. Do you understand? It's when you are trying to pass laws for the whole of Nigeria that they have a vested interest in checking to see how, like the gender bills.
You're all representing your individual constituencies.
Yes, we are. Yes. But the laws, the FCT ones, are specific. They go to their state assemblies to get laws passed that affect their state. We go to the National Assembly to get laws passed that affect only FCT.
How do you hope to effect lobbying? Because you need lobbying.
Don't worry, we are women. We are very good at
lobbying.
There were
women, very strong politically minded women in the 9th Assembly.
Yes, there were, but not enough.
Individual approaches. And that's why we're talking about capacity. You cannot just say women across board. We're talking about building our capacity. Even in our private spaces, we talk to ourselves about building capacity and continue to build capacity. When you have capacity, now you package that bill. How many people did you sit? You don't hold a bill like it's a secret thing. And
there were extensive advocacies.
I can give you an example of a bill that was not passed.
Let me
mayoral bill. I went to other senators. I said, why did you refuse this? Why? It doesn't affect anybody else but the FCT. They told me that, Madam, we did not like how it was presented. It was presented in a manner that, do this for me. Why do I want to do it for you? Don't the rest of us want a retirement project? So how things are presented makes a lot of difference.
Okay. Again, the equality clause you talked about. Nobody will package a bill and not know that you should start from how to address that equality clause, given our special cultural considerations. The way you package that bill, diplomacy is about telling somebody to go to hell in a way that the person loves the journey. That's where the skills come in.
Okay, yes, please add.
In addition to making bills for FCT, I just want Nigerians to understand that going to the National Assembly is for Nigerians. All laws, the AGJA, the acts, all the acts we use today are passed by the National Assembly. So you're going to debate on these issues. And it's very, very pertinent that Nigerians send people who understand the state of the nation and how we want to proceed further to actually elect people there. The issues is that the people we've been sending there have actually not understood clearly some certain bills. And even going in there, not just for the FCT, I want that FCT will be seen as a focal point, that Nigeria will want to even agitate that their senators and their reps are actually qualitative people that go there and make laws for the entire Nigeria. So, and the anti-robbery bill, we have the criminal code, a lot of acts that are out there. We want so many things that actually relate and help the Nigerian people.
Okay, just this last question. My director says we've exceeded by 2 minutes. So please, just in 30 seconds, let's talk about mentorship and capacity, mentorship and capacity building. Has it helped? Have we been able to, our more experienced female politicians like Hajia Ireti Kingibe, have we been able to mentor, other women, build their capacities in this regard? Because if they're experienced and they know what to expect at the National Assembly, then when they get there, they won't be bullied, for lack of words.
Well, only women who have been in the National Assembly can actually mentor those that have not been. And none of us here have been to the National Assembly. But I would say that my journey started by having a mentor who was in the National Assembly. That's true. And I intend, when I get there, to mentor other women, not just for the National Assembly, but for political office.
Has it helped you?
Oh, the mentorship I got?
Yes.
Oh, it definitely and absolutely helped me. I would not have, my journey would not have been half as successful without that mentorship.
So it's critical.
Very critical. And for me, the mentorship starts from even the party mentoring, forming parties, getting involved in the political affairs. And for me to be a candidate twice in 3 years, I'm sure it's astonishing for any young person who wants to actually come into politics. So the young woman out there already sees that, oh, it's possible. So she's even convinced before she comes close. And like I always say, it's very possible as long as you tell the people the A, the B, and C on how to go about it.
I was just chatting with a woman a few hours ago, and I was telling her women love differently, women react differently, and then the issue of mentorship, I think we shouldn't focus so much, we shouldn't reduce the space. What you need by way of what you need to build your capacity has a lot to do with what you want to become, where you are going to, and who has the flesh, the juice to give you, you know, along the line. So the mentorship cuts across both from male and female within your safe space, you know. So you need a mentor in every profession. You need somebody to look up to. You need somebody who will be able to, you know, pull you up and say, here it is. And it's done a lot for me, and I've done a lot for others too.
Comrade Gloria Kolugbo, House of Representatives candidate for the NNPP, Barrister Judith Ikaire, House of Representatives candidate for the ADC, and Ajua Ireti Kingibe, senatorial candidate, Labour Party. I wish all of you ladies the best of luck in the forthcoming elections, and hopefully we will come back here to share our experiences. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, and that does it for us on Late Edition this week. I'd like to thank you, and if you are a lady, don't forget, well, I don't know, I want to share in the courage of Barrister Judith Ikaire. She's the youngest of my guests today, and really I've learned one or two things from her. And let's do it again same time next week. From me and the rest of the production crew, it's goodbye.